When you're diagnosed with cancer, the first question that comes to mind is, oh my God, is it curable? Now, unfortunately, not all cancers are curable, but with the treatments and screening technology we now have, even people with incurable cancer, say stage 4 or metastatic cancer, are living longer than ever. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some very inspiring stories from other cancer survivors who have beaten the odds and want you to know that you can too. I've been working in radiation oncology for over 16 years, and I've had several patients come back for radiation treatment 10, 20, even 30 times to radiation in different areas of their body where their cancer has spread. But this means that people are living with metastatic cancer for decades. But despite all the advancements that have been made in cancer treatment and the fact that people are living longer because of them, cancer is still a terrifying diagnosis. So if you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer, and even if your doctor told you it was incurable, I'm going to share with you stories of patients that I've had who have lived much, much longer, even years longer than expected. And I'll be sharing with you some very powerful tips that helped them keep their cancer in remission for so long. The first story I want to share with you is of the sweetest patient I've ever had, Maria, who was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer, and her oncologist told her that since her chemotherapy wasn't working, they would try putting her on immunotherapy, but still she would likely only have about 6 months to live. Now, I just want to pause here for a second to talk about how your oncologist determines your cancer prognosis. And by prognosis, I mean your outlook, how likely treatments are to work for you, and if your cancer is advanced, it may also include how long you likely have to live. I'm going to let you in on a secret here. Basically, it's just a guess. It's a very well-educated and experienced guess from your oncologist, but it's not always accurate. Doctors are human and they can't predict the future. So even if you don't receive the prognosis you're hoping for, don't let that discourage you, because more often than not, I've seen patients live well beyond what their oncologist expected. Now, getting back to Maria's story. Obviously, when she was told that she only had 6 months to live, she was devastated and scared, but her intuition was telling her that it didn't feel right. She knew deep down inside that her immunotherapy would work because she had more life to live. And she was right. This was 2 years ago. So not only did her immunotherapy work extremely well for her, she's lived well beyond what her oncologist expected. And as we speak, she's still traveling to Europe and the Caribbean with her husband and living life to the fullest. When I told Maria that I wanted to share her story with my followers on YouTube, she was thrilled. And she wants you to know that your mindset matters so much when it comes to fighting cancer. Which makes sense because it's been scientifically proven that having a positive mindset can positively impact how your body responds to treatment. Stress is horrible for both your physical and mental health. So how do you reduce stress levels after cancer? Well, recognizing gratitude can help, expressing appreciation for the support you get from your family and friends can help, and discovering the strength within yourself despite all of the difficult things you're up against can also really help. The second story I have for you is actually of a colleague of mine, John, who is an oncologist and was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer at the age of 47. And when he was diagnosed, his cancer had already metastasized to his liver. Now, being an oncologist, John knew how serious his diagnosis was, but being relatively young, he was extremely determined to beat cancer for his wife and kids. I'll never forget a conversation I had with him when he told me that he's always known how important having a healthy diet and lifestyle were for disease prevention. And he said that it was always kind of at the back of his mind that he knew he should be making healthier choices, but he never really took the initiative to do it. Now, he wasn't the most unhealthy person, but he didn't hold back on eating the donuts that our patients brought in for us often, or fast food a few times a week because he's so busy. But let me tell you, since his cancer diagnosis, I've never met anyone as healthy as John. He bikes every day, he stopped drinking wine, and he stopped eating red meat, any refined sugar, or any processed foods. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be like John and have the cleanest diet ever just to beat cancer, but he is living proof that it really does help. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, making all these healthy changes to your diet and sticking with them for the rest of your life is not easy. So when I asked John how he stays so focused and disciplined with healthy eating, he said meditation. So this is the big takeaway from this story. Through meditation, he's able to stay focused on his goal of doing anything he can to beat cancer. While he's meditating, he reminds himself that beating cancer for his family is way more important to him than eating fries or donuts. John has now been in cancer remission for 4 years since his diagnosis, and I love this, he now educates his patients on how eating healthy, exercising, and meditating for a positive mindset can all help you beat the odds with cancer. Just a quick tip if you're interested in getting into meditation and don't know where to start, try doing guided meditations in the beginning. There are plenty on YouTube, or you can download an app called Headspace or Calm, where you can choose different voices, topics, or session lengths. I highly recommend these. Now, this last story that I have for you, I know a lot of you will be able to relate to, and there's a really important takeaway at the end. A few years ago, I had a patient named Jennifer who was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, which had spread to her lymph nodes. She underwent surgery, had a bilateral mastectomy, which means she had both breasts removed, and then she also had chemotherapy and radiation therapy. So statistically speaking, with all 3 of those treatments combined, it should have given her a very good chance of becoming cancer-free. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But as an aside, I want to explain what I mean by statistically speaking and tell you why you should not listen to cancer statistics. Most people nowadays use the internet for information, and it's the first place you go when you want to learn something, right? But if you're searching online how likely you are to beat cancer given your diagnosis and stage and the treatments you'll be having, you do not want to get caught up on statistics. Cancer statistics are hard to understand and often very inaccurate because cancer survival rates are based on information gathered from hundreds or thousands of people with the same type of cancer, but these are people of all ages with different underlying health conditions, diets, and lifestyles. So these statistics are definitely not accurate for your personal situation. And one of the reasons that I mentioned earlier that your oncologist may not be accurate in determining your prognosis is because I know that some oncologists are very factual and rely heavily on statistics. However, they are still by far the best person to decide which treatments are best for you, and typically their prognosis is much more accurate than anything you'd be able to determine online. Some people would rather not even know their prognosis, which is completely understandable, but most people want to know what their odds are. Knowledge is power, and it's important that you understand what your diagnosis is, what your treatment options are, and the potential side effects from them. And being well informed empowers you to be part of your treatment care plan, and it gives you a sense of control over it. Anyways, back to Jen's story. I really connected with her because we were the same age, and she shared with me that she was an artist. She paints murals and larger-than-life paintings, and let me tell you, she is so incredibly talented. Unfortunately, less than 2 years after she was treated for breast cancer, the cancer spread to her spine, and her oncologist told her that her cancer was now incurable. Naturally, she was shocked that she had gone through every treatment possible for breast cancer, but it wasn't enough. She was frustrated that she'd been through months of treatments and appointments and side effects and stress, and she wondered if it was all for nothing. She felt incredibly defeated and became quite depressed. She didn't want to tell her friends, she didn't even want to get out of bed, and she didn't want to do what she loved most, which was to paint. So I referred Jen to an online support group for young breast cancer patients that have this amazing community where they share their experiences and give each other advice and support. So she checked it out, and it was in this group where she received some simple yet amazing advice. This was to focus on the present, not the future, and take one day at a time. She also learned that a great way to do this is to set daily goals for yourself. You see, setting small, achievable goals each day can help provide you with a sense of direction and purpose. Your goals can range from going for a 20-minute walk to starting a new hobby, or maybe doing something nice for someone you care about. But what's also important is that no matter how small, each goal you achieve is worth celebrating and being proud of. This can really boost your morale and inspire perseverance. Jen said that once she changed her perspective, she wanted to start painting again and telling her friends about her new diagnosis. And I'm so proud of her because although she received this advice from the women in the support group, she taught herself how to be more resilient. She had it in her all along, she just needed to know that she wasn't alone. These are powerful takeaways from these 3 cancer survivors. We've learned from Maria that your mindset matters when it comes to fighting cancer. We've learned from John that it's possible to beat the odds by adopting a healthy diet and lifestyle and meditating to stay focused on why you're doing it. And we learned from Jen that we are way more resilient than we know. I hope you've enjoyed these stories, and if so, please share this video with someone else who may enjoy them as well. Bye for now.